Pardon the overdramatic illustration, by Royo, found at Image Anytime, but this story was as much about fighting my limitations as it was just a tale to tell. As a result, I thought a brief introduction would be in order. I wanted to explore things that are challenging for me to get my mind and heart around. In this case, I had 3 specific objectives. First, there is a significant subcategory of stories in this genre dealing with awkwardness and self-consciousness of the protagonist. People are welcome to their own preferences, of course, but I've never really understood the appeal of that. One of my objectives for this story was to see if I could create an antithesis to that approach, a character who refused to feel inadequate. I wanted to consider a person who could achieve that not by avoiding things that others might find awkward nor by being so confident that he just didn't care about the feelings of others, but by being sufficiently secure in his own self-image that his opinion of himself was not dominated by what others thought. To aid in that, I gave him a supportive spouse, surely the most vital element of coping with any problems in the real world. My second objective was to see if I could write believably about such a person, for that person would be as far from my own personality as I could imagine. Innocuous things make my cheeks flush with heat from recollections of moments that happened years ago, trivial things no doubt completely forgotten by the witnesses at the time yet still lingering in my mind. The idea of overcoming that sense of discomfort and self-consciousness is as difficult for me to imagine as anything else about this story. The readers will have to judge if I have had any success. My third objective is a continuing one, born in large part from a story by Constance Grant. I had read in another source that all individuals who undergo transformations are motivated by one of 2 urges. They are either transitioning, believing themselves to be of a gender different than their assigned sex at birth, or they are simply enjoying cross-dressing, often as a form of self-expression. Clearly, the forced nature of many stories is an easy excuse for taking pleasure in something that makes one feel conflicted and compatible with either or both of those basic attitudes. I am not qualified to judge the true motivations of others, but that seems overly simplistic to me. I thought it would be an interesting exercise to explore that in a story. Constance Grant showed a very believable character with a motivation different than either of those. I have tried to create such characters also, both in this story and in one called Lucky. Those objectives are, as I said, writing challenges that may get in the way of telling a more natural story, or even a more believable one. The protagonist develops a feminine voice way too easily in this one. Again, the reader will need to judge, both whether the characters are adequately realistic with credible motivations, and whether my exploration of the idea has resulted in an interesting story. So, I hope you find the story enjoyable. If you want to comment either publicly or in private, my guest book and email are active. Thank you for taking the time to read this explanation. Brandy Duinter. Song lyrics. For Your Eyes Only. Song by Sheena Easton. Inspiration to use it by Tigger. For your eyes only can see me through the night. For your eyes only I never need to hide. You can see so much in me that's new. I never felt until I looked at you. For your eyes only for you. You'll see what no one else can see, now I'm breaking free. For your eyes only for you. The love I know you need in me, the fantasy you've freed in me. Only for you, only for you. For your eyes only, the nights are never cold. You really know me, that's all I need to know. Maybe I'm an open book, because I know you're mine. But you won't need to read between the lines. For your eyes only for you. You see what no one else can see, now I'm breaking free. For your eyes only for you. The passions that collide in me, the wild abandoned side of me. Only for you, for your eyes only. Story. Logan McDaniel was a highly successful businessman. The secret to his success was not unusual competence. He was competent extremely, but that was no secret. His secret was that he was also memorable in a world where software consultants seemed to multiply like a clone experiment run wild. Among that sea of competitors, McDaniel managed to make an impression that kept him in the minds of his customers when they were trying to select someone to help them. Of course, once he got the contract he had to deliver, but that was the easy part, at least in most cases. He made that memorable impression in the minds of his customers by creating an image of controlled contrasts. His high-end suits were outlandishly expensive, much more so than most of his customers realized, but they made his slender form seem lean and as razor-sharp as the creases in his pants. His shoes were always polished mirror-bright, a noticeable care for details that offered confidence he would pay the same attention to his customers' needs. But none of that was particularly unusual. What was unique about McDaniel was that he could also relate to the tech wizards in the companies, the experts who were listened to by the decision-makers despite a very unique perspective. McDaniel's image comforted the tech gurus as well because above the crisp collar of his starched shirt, he had thick dark red hair that hung to his shoulder blades in a neatly bound ponytail. That contrast, perfectly tailored clothes with a decidedly non-corporate haircut, could have been discordant and jarring. However, on McDaniel, it sent a message of being able to play in both worlds, professional and creative. And it was certainly memorable. The real secret, the secret to his secret, was his wife Jayla. It was her appreciation for the opportunity to send a reassuring message through controlled contrasts that had created his so successful image, which had in turn created the opportunities for him to apply his technical competence. Jayla had started out as a model and her own trim figure, not much shorter than McDaniel's 5 feet 10 inches, had displayed fashions and cosmetics that appealed to the dream in suburban women. Her image was never the self-satisfied arrogance of high society. She was the girl next door who sold swimsuits and shampoo and sweaters. Her beauty was fresh and wholesome, just the image suburban moms wanted for themselves and for their daughters. And what? Logan asked, rising to her obvious bait. And you'll just have to see, she replied. If it works the way I hope, you'll be, impressed. At least. Her enthusiasm was more important than the words she said, at least to Logan. He would do just about anything he could for his beautiful bride, and if she got that excited at the idea of experimenting with his appearance, then it was a small enough price to pay. What do I have to do? He asked. That's the best part, she said cheerfully. You don't have to do anything. Just sit over here and let me do all the work. We'll start by. The rest of her directions were swept up in the bright energy of her chatter. Logan followed her back into the spare bedroom that was her workroom and sat in front of a table laden with containers of every imaginable shape and size. Let me clean this up just a bit, she said, reaching for a tweezers. The first yank caused Logan to twitch, but he didn't say anything as Jayla shaped his eyebrows. In truth, she didn't do much to them, mostly cleaning up outlying hairs to leave a clearer line and trimming the longer hairs to a more uniform length. At the question in his eyes when she stood back, she laughed. Oh, trust me, darling. This will be fine, better in fact. She proved her point by handing him a mirror. At first, he wasn't sure what she had done. There had been a lot of tugs for no more apparent change, but after a moment, he saw what had happened and nodded. It'll actually help with your business image, she claimed. The clean look goes well with your suit and sort of, reinforces the idea that you pay attention to detail. Whatever you say, love, Logan replied, but he relaxed and nodded to her again. This time her ministrations were much more comfortable for him. She spread soothing creams and dusted lightly with softly scented powder while he slouched in the chair with his eyes closed. He might even have fallen asleep if she had continued with the gentle caresses of her technique, but before he reached that happy state, she started giving new orders. Looking up, down, opening and closing his eyes, one at a time then together, pursing his lips, other facial exercises made his relaxation vanish. If I look ridiculous, I'm going to make you pay, he threatened, but as always, his grin negated any real danger. Would I do that to you? She teased, grinning back at him with unrepentant glee. Actually, you are going to be flat amazed. I already am, and I'm the one doing this. Yeah, and you're doing it to me, Logan replied, but his interest was piqued. With a final flourish, she capped the lipstick that had been her final tool and stood back. Yes, she hissed, pleased in a way that demonstrated her amazement even in the absence of a confirming comment. Logan stood up and turned around to look in the oversized mirror behind her work counter. His first reaction was a slight frown. He had expected either something so subtle, after all, that was Jayla's trademark, that he couldn't tell there was any makeup at all, or something so, well, he didn't know what the other extreme might have been. Tasteful for a woman, of course, but obviously inappropriate for a man. Instead, he saw something that was both subtle and obvious at the same time. I look, goodness, 10 years younger, he said. Like a kid, only with no blemishes. Exactly, Jayla agreed. The point of this is to make you look better, but not due to paints and potions, just because you really are good looking. At least, that's what I was trying for. It actually worked pretty well. Yeah, he said, reaching up to touch his cheek. He half expected her to tell him not to mess anything up, but she said nothing. There's more to this than just looking younger, though I'm not sure just what. To his fingers, there was a slightly creamy feel, but when he looked at his hand he couldn't see any evidence of what he had sensed. It's almost transparent, Jayla explained, except that it fills in a little, making your skin seem smoother. What else did you do? Logan asked, pursing his lips a little at the slightly tacky feel of the lipstick. I spent a long time trying to get just the right shade for your lips, she claimed. It needs to be within the range of your natural colors, just a bit darker than the average tones so it fills in smoothly. Then, I drew your lips just a little larger than your real contours to make them seem fuller and more prominent, an eye magnet to make people pay attention when you speak. If you say so, Logan said. I guess I don't know enough to say one way or the other on the details, but there is something more. Well, Jayla said, grinning proudly, at least one part of my goal has been achieved. If you can't tell, even looking at your own face, then it must not be, what did you say? Ridiculous? Logan winced at her jab, accepting that he should have trusted her, and nodded. She continued, the best part, if I do say so myself, is that I shaped your eyes with a liner and shadow and worked on your cheekbones. They're pretty good, actually. A lot of people would envy your cheekbones, so that you appear more exotic than normal for men, actually just a bit androgynous, which is eye-catching without being obvious. It'll make people notice you without realizing why they're noticing you. At least, that's what I think. Logan smacked his lips ostentatiously, laughing as he puckered up to kiss his smug bride. I wonder if this stuff, wears off. If it does, I'll make you fix it up yourself, she said, but she made no real effort to escape his embrace. So, do you like it? She asked, some time later. Like it? What's not to like? When I just about levitated off the bed. Jayla slapped his arm, but she was laughing almost too much to speak. No, dummy. I mean the makeup. Do you like it? Logan shrugged and said, it's okay, I guess. His lovely wife's face creased in a frown, so you don't really like it. I didn't say that. You might as well have said it, she pouted. Look, he said, pausing to find the right words, it's not, something I might do for myself. I can see the artistry and I have to admit I like looking younger and, well, better, but I'm not sure it's, worth the effort. At least, not for me. Logan tried to resurrect their recent closeness with an overdone leer. Of course, if it, interests you like that, I could be persuaded. Jayla smiled, accepting his tactful explanation. Then a light came on in her eyes that was magnified by a wicked little grin of her own. Darling, Jayla cooed, obviously mimicking the tone from her previous request. Logan said, playing along. What now? Oh, I'm just wondering if I could persuade you to. Logan let her have her moment of suspense, smiling to show he was prepared to outwait her. She stuck her tongue out at him, quickly pulling it back to avoid his snatching fingers, and said, okay. After I get you fixed up again, let's go out to a movie or something. If you let me do your face, you can pick the film. Oh, boy. Set myself up to be laughed at, and for that privilege I get to see a movie we'd eventually see anyway. Such a deal. Do you really think you'd be laughed at? Jayla asked, concern in her tone. I never meant for that to happen. I don't know, Logan answered. I imagine it's like you said, it would depend on how close we get to anyone. And even if someone did notice, I'm not sure what they would do. It's not, blatant or anything. Thank you, love, but we don't need to take the chance. Let me clean off the rest of what's left, and we'll go out anyway. Oh, I'll let you do me up, Logan said, laughing. It doesn't matter if someone does laugh at me, as long as it's not you. But you owe me. So what else is new? Jayla said, laughing herself. But the look of love in her eyes was more than enough payment for Logan. And, in the manner of married couples who are totally focused on each other, Jayla immediately recognized his acceptance of her whim. It made her wonder about his protests. Does it really not bother you, the idea of getting laughed at? Oh, it bothers me, I guess, he replied, but not too much. I don't suppose I'd want a close friend or business associate to laugh at me, but there are only two people whose opinions truly matter to me, you and me. If I let myself be driven by someone else's attitudes, that would mean I'm not paying enough attention to your feelings. So, if it would make you happy, have at it. I'll survive. She let her love show in her smile again, and said, it's just that there are some variations I sort of wanted to try, since we're doing this anyway. And, if you're willing to take the chance, I truly would like to see how people react. Logan wrapped his slender bride in his arms and just snuggled her close for a moment. Love of my life, I already told you. If it would make you happy, have at it. We'll mostly be in a dark theater anyway, she promised, but she was once again leading him to sit before her pots of potions and powders. This time Logan paid a bit more attention to her explanation, swept along by her enthusiasm now less impeded by his own uncertainty. This second variation, as she had called it, was like yet unlike the first. What do you think? She asked when she stepped back. It's, a little more noticeable, Logan replied. She had thinned and lifted his eyebrows a little more, and the eyeshadow was more noticeable, darker and blended a bit whiter toward the tip of his brow. Too much? He shrugged, then shook his head. Not if it's what you want. Like you said, it'll be dark. And it is, striking. He stood and moved closer to his wife where they could both be seen in the mirror. For once, people might notice me even though you're in the room. Oh, speaking of which. Jayla said, sitting down at the array of cosmetics. I'll need to get myself ready, too. You go pick a movie and time and whatever. It was early evening when they arrived at the theater. Logan found a parking place that was coincidentally halfway between two light poles and rather dimly lit. Even so, it was bright enough, especially as they moved closer to the doors, to make the anonymity of a dark theater only a distant promise. Let me get the tickets, Jayla offered. Once they were inside, though, there wasn't really much chance to hide away from the crowd. People were milling around and they had to join a line waiting to get into their theater within the megaplex of screens. Logan could see a few people looking a second and even a third time at him, and feel the eyes of others behind him, but no one did anything particularly obnoxious, and after a few minutes, he relaxed. You doing okay? Jayla asked. Fine, he said. I don't think your, 10-foot rule is working, but I can handle a few curious glances. Good, she said, then leaned up to whisper in his ear, and thank you, my best beloved. Anything for you, love, he promised. The movie Logan had selected was a generic action/adventure flick with lots of explosions, action scenes, and memorable villains. One of the antagonists, a mountain of a man with a bodybuilder physique, conveniently managed to get his shirt torn during an energetic fight sequence so his muscles could show. If the director's expectation was that this would impress the audience, he was mistaken in at least one instance. Jayla saw the villain's hairy torso and laughed out loud. Ooga, ooga, she giggled. Now that is one hairy guy. What's the matter with that? Asked Logan. I thought women liked men with hair on their chests and muscles. Not this woman, Jayla declared, dropping her voice back to a whisper. My darling, there are lots of things I love about you, but one of the things that attracted me to you is that you are not overly hairy. I'd just as soon hug a bear as a hairy man. Really? I always thought I was a little sparse in that department. Which is good, at least in my mind, she repeated. Then she made a casual comment, not even looking at Logan while the hero attacked the villain with stunningly choreographed martial arts moves. Why should I like body hair on you any more than you would like it on me? An exploding car or building or something drowned out any response Logan might have made, and they returned their attention to the movie. As such things do, the movie had a damsel in distress to be rescued by the hero. In a suitably dramatic scene, though rather blunt and not very tender at all, the hero and damsel shared a passionate kiss the moment he found her in her dimly lit prison. Jayla reached for her own lover's hand, intent on giving it a teasing squeeze, only to find a firm obstruction along the way, very firm. Ready to go again, stud, she snickered in his ear. Huh? Oh, sure, anytime with you, babe. You're sort of distracted, Jayla observed. You like that platinum blonde look? You know better than that, Logan said. I think your hair is one of the most beautiful things about you, and I've told you that many times. What's getting you so hot, then? Asked the brunette with a toss of her own thick hair. Nothing, Logan claimed, but his eyes were still locked on the screen. Jayla looked again to see what was so special about the image, then found her answer not in the damsel's hair, but in her distress. She still wore handcuffs while the hero was kissing her, adding to the apparent sweetness of her willing surrender. You like the handcuffs? She asked, surprised. You never even hinted at that before. Even in the dimness and despite her own earlier camouflage application, she could see her husband's cheeks darken. And he knew that she knew, so he didn't try to deny it, at least not entirely. I'm not really into that sort of thing, Logan claimed, but there's something about, I don't know, the image of being protective that appeals to me. It's not so much that the girl is cuffed as that she is, dependent on him. It seems very caring to me, on both their parts. Then he smiled, recovering his own composure enough to tease his wife. Besides, with a girl as big and as fit as you, I'd need all the advantage I could get. So you'd like to tie me up? She asked, a teasing grin showing that she might be persuaded. She didn't get the quick and easy agreement she expected. Logan looked at her for a long moment, then said, I'm not sure. That is, my frat brothers and I went to a movie once, well, one time that had bondage in it. It didn't really do anything for me. I know I wouldn't like anything non-consensual. Maybe what caught my attention is that she sort of presented herself to him already bound and that they just weren't in any hurry to undo the cuffs, like she trusted him to do it eventually, and to take care of her until he got around to it. I don't know, really. Now it was Jayla's turn to give him a long, studious look. After a moment, they both turned their attention back to the movie. The damsel was indeed released, eventually, and the remaining villains satisfyingly defeated, eventually. When the lights came on in the theater, Logan remembered for the first time in a while that he was, as he had said earlier, striking in appearance.